conservatively liberal.
This isn't you.
Probably depends on how much Nicorette he's chewed.
Yeah, I know.
From Fox News, the immensely entertaining Tucker Carlson is on the line.
Your handlers have spoke to my handlers and told me that you need to be off by 5 till, so I will try to abide by your requests, my friend.
Oh, Bubba, I hate to make requests. I have a board meeting.
Anything for you, my friend. Anything. High-level mover and shakers like you, a big-time board. You're probably a board member of some Fortune 500 companies, big blue-chip kind of deals. I'm just happy to know you, kid.
It's just General Motors. No, actually, I'm only on one board, and it's a board of a charity to send inner-city kids to boarding schools.
Oh, yeah. So you're all about, inner-city kids that are problems, probably black. You want to ship them out of your community and into, like, the prison-like boarding facility that you like? I got it.
The one that I send my own children to?
No, of course not. You're not going to send inner-city kids to the blue-blooded, silver-spooned place that your kids go to. You're going to send them to some place far, far away than that, like maybe Afghanistan or something like that.
Yeah, that's right. Madagascar. Some remote, unhappy island, or one of the stands, no doubt about it. Kyrgyzstan.
One of the stands.
Kyrgyzstan.
On the air today, I was saying if I was President of the United States, President Clem, I'd say in a speech to the country, I'm out of the stand business, my friend. I'm getting the hell out of all the stands, the Pakistan, the homo stand, the Afghanistan, and you know what? Let's bring everybody that's fighting for the stands back and to fight for the great U.S. of A.
Well, I think Obama basically said something not so far from that last night.
Now, see, I was going to ask your spin on it. I thought, and Brent thought, and everybody else thought that he's just, giving us more lip service about having people over there, and just justifying why we need to be over there. I mean, at the end of the day, what's the difference between training those people now or training them 18 months from now? Who cares how high level training they have? Let's just get the hell out of there.
Yeah, I mean, that's an idea. It's just, if Pakistan falls, I'm not kidding, there could be a nuclear war.
Who cares?
That's that big a deal.
Who cares?
Well, I don't know. You don't want the world to be destroyed. I'm not saying the world to be destroyed, but you could have, a very, very bad situation.
Well, let me ask you a question.
How are we going to stop Pakistan from falling?
Does Pakistan have the ability, or anybody that's got nukes, they have the ability? Now, answer me honestly. Do they have the ability to launch one of those bad boys on any part of our country?
Well, I don't know in the case of Pakistan where they have intercontinental ballistic missiles.
But, I mean, you got to think.
They do not.
They're crappy-ass Pakistan. My God, they can't even defend themselves. So, at the end of the day, they probably do not. So, who cares who blows up who over there? Let's get the hell out while the getting's good.
Well, I think let me put it this way. Would you like the same people who pulled off 9/11 to have control over a big country with a lot of nuclear weapons? I'm serious.
Brent, help me out here.
That is the only place. Look, I don't care what happens in Afghanistan. I don't care if it reverts to Stone Age repression that preceded 9/11. I don't want anybody to be enslaved, but on the other hand, it's not worth a single American life to make sure the Afghans get to vote. I'm not for nation building at all. However, Pakistan actually is scary. Really scary.
Since when have we been in the Pakistan business?
But the thing is, Tucker, what will keep Pakistan in check is India. India's got nuclear weapons, and if Pakistan flares up, then that's the Indians' problem. That's their neighbor.
Yeah, I don't think they've done a lot to keep Pakistan in check. I mean, they didn't prevent Pakistan from getting nuclear weapons, for instance. They didn't prevent Pakistan from the hotel murders a couple months ago, from taking over, the downtown of the biggest city in the country. I mean, you know what I mean? They're still fighting a war with Pakistan in Kashmir. So, I don't know. I don't think India can do that. Look, I'm not defending Obama. I thought he looked weak, and he talked about himself incessantly as he always does. I think he's over his head, but I kind of feel for him on this issue.
Well, you know what, though? He sounded, they played a conversation yesterday with LBJ and McNamara, and Obama's speech last night sounded almost exactly the same. And for him to get up there and say it's not like Vietnam, he's right in one sense. In Vietnam, we knew we were fighting against Ho Chi Minh and the NVA and the VC. We don't know who we're fighting against in Afghanistan.
That's a really good question. I agree with you completely. I mean, I agree with that. I have the feeling that the majority of the population is against us, at least in some basic sense. They don't like white Westerners who are Christian or Jewish
or any non-Muslim
on their soil. And I agree with that. And I agree that, again, Obama doesn't seem to have control over his foreign policy, and he seems very small as a president.
So what's the disadvantage of getting out now compared to getting out 18 months from now? I mean, who cares?
Well, I guess the idea is if we were to get out right now, we're certain that the country would fall to the Taliban, and 18 months from now, there's a better shot that it won't. I think that's the risk. That's the calculation involved. I'm not saying it's a good thing.
I mean, but the risk reward is the risk worth the reward, and is there a reward? That's the question.
Well, another 9 years without getting hit by a terror attack, that would be a reward.
But I mean, at the end of the day, man, don't you think that terrorism and it's always going to happen? And I mean, I talked about earlier today that, are we really being held hostage by the Taliban, or are we being held hostage by the fact that the reason why we have terrorist attacks is because of the technology now that's available to anybody? I mean, from GPS to computers to flight simulators that you can get on at your home. I mean, the reason why, somebody could have said back in the day that the Oklahoma City bombing could have been an act of terrorism. They could have very well spun those two idiots as Taliban, American Taliban, instead of just a couple of jackasses that live in a shed. At the end of the day, Tucker, we're always going to have this, and I'd feel a hell of a lot better if we had, the men and women of our, rather than lose another life, so that some jackass that's being born to these Middle Eastern people can praise Allah efficiently, or that women can have voting rights, or that somebody can who cares?
And the largest Muslim country in the world is Indonesia. So what's going to keep them from planning an attack from Indonesia?
Look, I'm totally on your side in every way. I agree with I think everything you said. Here's the point, though, and I've said this before, it's not that we're being held hostage by terrorists or the Taliban or some small cell. We're being held hostage by the entire world. We are in charge of keeping the world orderly.
So why now? We
didn't want it. I think it's terrible for our country. It may end up destroying our country in the end, but that's just an accident of history. We wound up being this sole superpower at a time, and the sole aspiring superpower.
Now, but when did it start? I mean, did it start the day we dropped a bomb on Hiroshima, and then we obviously had to get involved?
I think it did. No, actually, I think it started the day that Franz Ferdinand was killed in 1914, and World War I started, and Great Britain was destroyed by that war. And, somebody needed to fill, or someone, not even needed, but someone inevitably would fill the vacuum. That's just the nature of the world. So when there's no BSD in charge, someone has to step up, is forced to step up to become that BSD, okay?
Now, what do you think about this comment last night? Hold on.
First, there are those who suggest that Afghanistan is another Vietnam. They argue that it cannot be stabilized, and we're better off cutting our losses.
Well, at least he's heard some of the naysayers, because that makes them...
But why does he... I thought that was a totally weird thing to say. Like, is he, required to rebut point by point the critique of op-ed columnists of his plan that hadn't even been rolled out yet?
At least he's...
I wouldn't even bring... Look, if I'm the speechwriter, I would say, look, Mr. President, don't even use the word Vietnam. Don't even go there.
No.
Make an allusion to it, maybe. You don't need to say that. You don't need the headline to be Obama, this is no Vietnam. Like, why even raise the specter?
Well,
moron.
You know why he had to bring it up is because the Marine captain that was in charge over in Afghanistan and in charge of a large resigned because of it.
I don't think he's getting enough respect from within. I mean, he's got all these people that are these high level generals and commanders that are just basically making him his bitch.
You remember you've mentioned Harry S. Truman. Harry S. Truman, MacArthur wanted to go in and invade China, and Harry S. Truman fired him for speaking out against him.
Of course.
So Obama should have fired McChrystal for speaking out against him, period, to begin with, for insubordination.
I completely agree, even though obviously I trust Stanley McChrystal much more than I trust Barack Obama, who doesn't know anything.
But rapidly withdrawn.
I still think you're right.
I believe this argument depends on a false reading of history.
Now, I have a high school education at best, but isn't history pretty clear-cut?
On Vietnam, very clear-cut.
I mean, how can you have a false reading of history? Not only you can have a false interpretation.
Unlike Vietnam, we are joined by a broad coalition of 43 nations that recognizes the legitimacy of our action.
No, they just don't
playing along.
That's why I can't believe you voted for this guy for president.
Hey,
that is so stupid.
Listen to me. I voted for him for two reasons. One, because of Sarah Palin. I hate that bitch more than anything in this entire world. And two, I thought for a fact that this smooth ass Colt 45 drinking brother might get us out of Afghanistan a little bit sooner. I'm sorry, Spice, go ahead.
He got you with the change moniker.
Yeah, he got me with the change.
He pounded that word change so much into your head.
He's George W. Bush with a tan, basically. I would have voted for McCain if McCain not had that stupid bitch. I mean, what's your opinion on that?
And had he not said, let's stay there for 100 years.
Let's stay there for 100 years.
Past.
Like Vietnam, we are not facing a broad-based popular insurgency. Most importantly, like Vietnam, the American people were viciously attacked from Afghanistan and remain a target for...
Well, at the end of the day, man, were we really attacked by Afghanistan, Brent? Didn't the hijackers all come from Saudi Arabia?
15 of the 19.
Oh, Tucker, we lost Tucker. Get him back on the phone.
15 of the 19 came from Saudi Arabia. Yes.
Okay. What, let me ask you a question. You know I'm dumb. I'm at the highest level. What did Afghanistan have to do with other than the fact that one thing I knew
monkey bars?
Well, they got monkey bars, and they're supposedly that's where Osama bin Laden is, right?
Supposedly, but he
could be in Pakistan.
I think he's in Pakistan, being hidden in Pakistan. But the thing about it, these are